Hi guys, this is Annabelle Casinto and we're back for another learning. So for today's video, we're going to tackle about the types of communication. But first, let's define what is communication. Communication is the act of transmitting information, ideas, and attitudes from one person to another. Thus, the communication takes place during individuals belonging to various categories and backgrounds. They put into operation various types of communication. So now let's move on to the seven types of communication. We have the verbal communication, non-verbal communication, written communication, visual communication, feedback communication, mass communication, and the group communication. So the verbal communication. In verbal communication, words of a particular language are used for passing the message. For example, while teaching in a class, teacher speaks and writes on a blackboard. Or sometimes, he or she may use audio visuals such as PowerPoint presentation to explain or emphasize some certain points. All these modes come under the category of verbal communication. Thus, verbal communication has four different types. We have the intrapersonal communication, interpersonal communication, oral communication, and public communication. So interpersonal communication, when communication takes place within oneself, is called intrapersonal communication. It includes individual reflection, meditation, and contemplation. Interpersonal communication includes prayers addressed to the divine through some authors, although some authors describe communication with the divine as transpersonal communication. The next is the interpersonal communication, which takes place between two persons. Interpersonal communication takes place between two persons. This includes dialogue, conversation, or exchange of views between two persons without using technological devices like the telephone. It is direct, intimate, and consists of verbal interaction or gestures. The third is the oral communication, which it employs the spoken word, either direct or indirect, as a communication channel. This verbal communication could be made on a channel that passes information in only one form, like for example a sound. The fourth is the public communication, which the sender or receiver sends a message, like speech, to her audience. The speaker usually delivers a highly structured message using the same channels as in interpersonal and small group communication. The next is the nonverbal communication as a type of communication. The nonverbal communication is a communication without using words, such as gestures, body language, and facial expression. This is called nonverbal communication. Often, nonverbal expressions supplement a verbal communication, but it may be the only one as mentioned earlier. Like while driving a speech in a rally, the leader often uses gestures to emphasize certain points, but the teacher may allow a student to enter the class simply by the gesture. So nonverbal communication has following types. We have the body language, which is the kinesthetics. We have the body language, it is kinetics, facial expression, postures, gestures, touch, proxemics, appearance and artifacts, and paralanguage. Next is the written communication. So this communication involves any kind of exchange of information in written form. To put it simply, written language communication is a communication by means of written symbols that are communicated by or to or between people or groups. Thus, written communication is the presentation of ideas or essays that make a clear point, supply details supporting that point, and demonstrate unity and coherence of the thought. When the information is lengthy and compromises images, pictures, charts, or graphs, and or statistical data, then it cannot be imparted orally to individuals. In such, written communication is regarded as one of the indispensable ways of imparting information. It's the visual communication. Visual communication is also the type of communication that is common in the daily lives of individuals. The main areas through which visual communication takes place are televisions, radios, social networking, and etc. When individuals are watching television or listening to a radio, then they also are engaged in a form of communication. In some cases, they are not only utilizing these leisure and recreational purposes, but they are also augmenting their knowledge and understanding in terms of various aspects. In communicating with others, then in most cases, their objective is to enhance their knowledge and understanding. Therefore, through some television shows and radio programs, individuals are able to augment their knowledge and understanding. Facebook is visual and use of memes, videos, images, and so forth. Instagram is the only image platform, and advertisers make use of this platform to make their product, to market their products. Next is the feedback communication. When the individuals who are in leadership position in educational institution and in various forms of organizations such as instructors, supervisors, head, directors, employers, and so forth, put into an operation various types of assessment methods to evaluate the performance of the individuals. After evaluating the performance, they provide their feedback in terms of performance. Hence, the communication that takes place is termed feedback, feedback communication. Therefore, within the educational institutions at all levels and various types of organization, this type of communication is regarded as crucial and beneficial. Next is the mass communication. It is the process of delivering information, ideas, and attitudes to a sizable and diversified audience. This is done through the use of media developed for the purpose, namely newspapers, magazines, radios, televisions, websites, and social media networks. The act of mass communication is much more complex than the face-to-face communication. It is addressed to the masses, to an extremely large audience. Next is the group communication. Communication by many persons in a face-to-face situation is described as group communication. Here, as the group grows in size, communication tends to become more and more of a monologue, reducing participation. The degree of directness therefore depends on the size of the group, the place where it meets, and also the relationship of the members of the group to one another. In a group communication, feedback is more difficult to measure and respond to. So communication plays a vital role in both professional and personal settings. The ability to communicate effectively is essential for the success in the workplace. Being able to promote oneself professionally through networking and effective communication is important for progressing in one's career. In personal settings, the ability to communicate emotions and ideas is imperative for building relationships, and making connections with, with others. So that would be all for the types of communication, and we'll see you on our next video. Bye!